Joining us for more on tonight's topic is Anthony Salufo, project assistant on the Sarasota County Citizens Opinion Survey. John Thaxton, a former Sarasota County Commissioner. He is now Director of Community Investment for the Gulf Coast Community Foundation. And Dan Lobeck, President of Control Growth Now. Good evening, gentlemen, and thank you for coming in. And Anthony, let me start with you. It's been 3 years in a row that Sarasota residents have said growth and traffic. What do you make of that?
I think that since about 2012, we've seen concerns about the lack of jobs and industry in the county really going down. And during that same amount of time, we've seen concerns about growth and population growth really going up. And that really encompasses a lot of things for people. One of the most visible aspects of that, I think, is traffic. Which we see on a daily basis. Dan, what is your organization all about in terms of Control Growth Now?
We don't want to stop it, can't stop it anyway, and it wouldn't be good if we did, but it needs to be managed in a proper way. Mary Slapp was quoted or interviewed as saying that if you don't grow, you die. Well, if you grow in a way such that your arterioles get clogged, you're not going to live very long. At least you're not going to have a healthy, satisfactory life. And so what we're all about is urging our local governments to do the right thing on growth management policies.
You know, John, you often hear here in Sarasota, if you look at our viewer comments, every time we do a story about a development project, all those comments are the developers come into town and they get just about everything that they ask for. They're rarely turned down. And it's really the county commission really that's at the forefront. So, you know, when you hear people say that, what's your reaction?
Well, I've not looked at a recent survey that showed the actual percentage of developments that were turned down versus those that were approved, but clearly the perception is that most of them that are asked for are approved, and I think you can see that probably manifests itself best in eastern and southern Sarasota County, which is where the preponderance of the growth over the next 10 to 15 years is going to occur. And it is going to be very difficult for the county to manage its issues with regards to affordable housing and traffic to meet the demands that are going to be put on the social services and the infrastructure that is going to be required by that new growth in those two areas of the county I just described.
Anthony, when the county contracts with USF to do this opinion research, what is the county hoping to find out in terms of, are they looking for a direction to go to, or are they asking what people are thinking about growth and development and traffic? Because we seem to know, we seem to know what people are thinking.
I think that the county is really looking for a couple of things when they ask USF to do this survey. They're looking, as the population of Sarasota County evolves, they want to know how are their priorities as far as issues changing, and they also want to know how good a job they're doing of meeting the expectations of the population.
And Dan, what's the answer to that?
You know, obviously they're not going to say that people don't like what we're doing. They're going to say we're doing a great job. Fact of the matter is, Alan, they're moving exactly the opposite direction of what the citizens want and doing what the developers who bankroll their campaigns prefer. On October 25, they're about to repeal, the county commission, 83 important policies and provisions that now control development. They're going to repeal traffic studies as far as the impacts on surrounding roads. No longer consider traffic on development. They're going to repeal the square footage limit on commercial centers. They're going to effectively eliminate the policy that requires neighborhood compatibility with new developments. Like I said, there are 83, I can't name them all, but there's a lot of bad stuff being done.
All right, having said that, why don't we take a quick break, and our roundtable will continue in a moment. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are discussing the recent Sarasota County Citizen Opinion Survey with our roundtable. Anthony Salufo is the project assistant for the survey. Dan Lobeck is the president of Control Growth Now, and John Thaxton is a former Sarasota County Commissioner, and he is now director of community investment for the Gulf Coast Community Foundation. And gentlemen, welcome back. You know, when we have heard the commissioners talk in this story and the developers, it all sounds good. You know, you want development, but you also want to maintain the quality of life here. But is there a disconnect between what you hear all the time and then what happens in the commission chambers in terms of how the votes go.
Absolutely, Alan. I mean, Commissioner Caraggiula said it's all about the standards. But, you know, week after week, month after month, he and the other commissioners are weakening those standards.
Give me an example of what.
An example is we have, for years, for decades, had a policy that said the developers have to build around the wetlands. It's a policy that says shall, and that's being changed to should. Pretty big difference. You know, I mean, growth may be inevitable, and Commissioner Caraggiula makes that point, but uncontrolled growth and development, which is exactly the way this commissioner is heading us, is the wrong way to go.
Okay.
That's not inevitable.
Anthony, after you get past development and traffic, what is the other major concern of Sarasota residents?
Between last year and this year, we've seen a pretty big increase in the number of respondents that are saying that their family, their personal household, is experiencing some financial stress. A full 14% increase between last year and this year. About 2/3 of Sarasota County households are feeling financial stress.
And John, that's exactly what your day job is these days, is you're concerned about these issues. And there seems to be almost a dichotomy here, because there are a lot of people who are watching this tonight who have nothing but angst when it comes to paying their monthly bills and saving for retirement or sending their kids to college. And there are a lot of people living in those condominiums, which are beautiful in town, which don't have the same concerns. Is this a unhealthy mix for this community?
Well, I wouldn't call it unhealthy, but it is one that we need to be very conscious of, because this angst, as you put it, that's being put on these households. This is a significant increase to see in 1 year. If it was over a 5-year period, it might be easier explained, but the best way to explain it now is that this dramatic increase is a direct result of the economic upturn. The economic upturn is very much benefiting those of us that own real estate and have stable jobs, where the expectation of increased wages is assumed. But for upwards of 40,000 households in Sarasota County, the exact opposite has occurred. Their wages have remained stagnant. The increase in this real estate market, this robust market that we're all extolling the virtues of, maybe Dan is the exception, is a penalty to these families. And as we increase the demand for this service workforce to provide for pool care and lawn care, healthcare services and the things like that, the number of those households that this survey described as stressed is only going to increase.
So our commissioners are hearing this information, and what, if anything, are they doing about it?
They're pointing to the figure that says people are happy. But they're not pointing to the figures that say people want stronger controls. And you talk about, you know, people in need, and I believe the real estate economy is a good part of our economy. But when our roads get overcrowded, the people in this survey are saying that's the biggest threat to our economy, is if we destroy the goose that lays the golden eggs. African Americans, in the same percentage as the community as a whole, is agreeing that growth and traffic out of control is bad for our economy, for everybody.
Anthony, how do these findings compare to other communities, not only around the Suncoast, but also around the Tampa Bay area and Florida in general?
I think that definitely the very high quality of life rankings, as well as the trust in government figures, are higher here than in other places. I also think that traffic is probably a larger concern here than in other places.
Except for Boynton Beach, where my parents retired to, because I could tell you it's the same problems going on down there. John, in your experience, do any substantial changes come out of these opinion surveys once they get to the commission?
They do, and it's kind of chicken or the egg phenomenon. But I have been watching these surveys now been participating in the surveys for about 20 years now. And there does seem to be a correlation between what comes out in the surveys as the top issues as those that are covered in the media. But then again, those that are covered in the media are likely a result of the actual concerns of the citizen. You see crime very, very low on the list. Another concern that tends to come and go is water. Sometimes water is top on the public's concern, but Presently today, it's not. I would suspect that you're going to see water in the next 10 years start to reemerge as an important issue.
And another issue that ranked high in this opinion survey in terms of concern is homelessness, right?
Yes.
And it seems to me the homelessness issue in Sarasota is right now is a vexing problem because the county commission and the city commission just cannot have their act together in terms of finding a unified way of addressing this as a concern.
Yeah, well, let's not bury the hatchet yet. Let's give this time to work out, because I have recently been a part of a constituency of both the city and the county and the sheriff's department that are looking at other options, and
What options?
They're keeping their minds open. We recently visited a facility in Tallahassee called the Kearney. It is a comprehensive care facility for mental health, substance abuse, feeding, sheltering, for not only those that are homeless, but those who are just simply in need of those services. And it is done in a way that is unlike what one would characterize as a classic homeless facility, a homeless shelter. So we will have numerous discussions about that tomorrow with the county commission, the city commission, the foundation, and then ultimately with the public.
That is indeed good news. Anthony, is there anything that kind of ties the results of the survey together in terms of what are the concerns of Sarasota residents?
I think that overall, people are very happy to be living here, but they definitely see some major places where the county government can work on some problems that they're having. Growth management is definitely one of them, as well as some public safety issues. We saw that that was really ranked as their second highest budget priority.
Which public safety issues?
We don't really get into that far. We just ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rank the importance of the county prioritizing public safety?
Dan, is this something that is not lost on the city of Sarasota and the city commissioners, and is there an effort to, in a holistic sort of way, to that this, obviously the county is paying for this study, but it's something that is just as important to the city government as it is to the county?
It sure should be. It sure should be. And October 3rd, the City Commission itself is going to hear a proposal from staff to eliminate traffic impact studies throughout the city of Sarasota.
To eliminate them?
To eliminate them for all but, the threshold is 400 condo units in most of the area around the Bayfront and well beyond. The view is 140 condo units. So they want to exempt virtually all the developers from traffic studies. And if you don't have traffic studies, you don't know how to control traffic. You don't know when to say no. So there is a lot of pressure by developers through staff.
Let me ask you both this, because we recently did a story about a new proposed Benderson development, and some people were saying afterwards the rub is that when you're talking about the need for affordable housing, that means that there are areas of the city and the county that the density, the number of units at the development has to be relatively high. On the other hand, you'll have neighborhood groups who are complaining about a new development and the amount of density, the amount of units, and so it seems like people want affordable housing, but you have just a certain amount of land and property to be developed.
And density increases alone are not the solution to affordable housing. There's been numerous instances in Sarasota County where housing densities were increased dramatically and resulted in no affordable housing. If the motive of a density increase is affordable housing, attainable housing, service workforce housing, veterans housing, elderly housing, then it needs to be specified in the density increase so that the densities are allocated towards those housing type, because the market in Sarasota County is so strong that you can develop at very, very high densities and provide for not provide for affordable housing, but increase the demand for necessary affordable housing.
We'll have to leave it there for a moment. We'll get final thoughts from a roundtable in a moment. Welcome back. We are discussing the Sarasota County Citizens Opinion Survey with our roundtable. It's time for final thoughts. And Anthony, sum up what people should take out of this survey for this year.
Well, the survey really has some good news for the county commission, but there's also some really clear ways that they need to move forward in addressing the concerns that the community has. A few of the big ones that I see are definitely traffic and growth management. People are starting to really get more concerned about that as the economy is recovering. People are also really feeling some pressure in their pocketbooks and so they want to see more jobs come into the county.
Dan, in many ways, development and traffic go hand in hand, and I know in season around here, it's awful out there. And are there any easy ways out of this?
If we had adequate impact fees to make growth pay its own way, made appropriate road improvements, and not just open up the whole county to urban sprawl and massive densification. The people are smarter than the politicians, Alan. And this poll,
But we keep electing them, so.
Well, that's what needs to change. People need to stop voting for the politicians that are bankrolled and controlled by the developers. And we can have growth while protecting our environment, our mobility, our neighborhoods, our taxpayers, and our quality of life.
John, you used to be one of those politicians. You were on the county commission. When you're in that position, are the pressures such that it's very hard to say no to a lot of these big developers?
It is a very difficult decision. It's a lot easier to say what you're going to do versus do what you need to do. And my hat's off to this county commission for taking on a very, very difficult job. My role now with the Gulf Coast Community Foundation, our board's direction is opportunity for all. And truly, Sarasota is a great place to live. But one of the things that makes it a great place to live are those hardworking, striving individuals that provide for these services that make this wonderful quality of life. And as we move forward, as we consider traffic and development and congestion and all these other things, for us it's going to be critically important that the policies that the Board of County Commissioners makes